It's a long way to the Gate of Hell, and the roads are not the best in northeast of Ethiopia. The Erta Ale Volcano is located in the Danakil desert, where the Afar, a tribe of nomadic shepherds, live, or rather survive. There are few villages in this region, because the Afar, as nomads, do not need houses, and looking at these settlements, you can see that they have been built without a long-term construction plan, but offer travellers like us a minimum of necessary infrastructure. We'll stop here for dinner. We set off on this journey to the Gate of Hell, with an Ethiopian guide, a cook, 3 drivers, myself and 6 ladies, which might show they are much more curious than some men, and are ready at least once in their lives to have the smell of hell in their nostrils. After the first shy contact with the locals, who were described as wild and dangerous, they invite us to a game of billiards, which we of course lose. The drivers use the stop to solve small technical problems. Here we also have to hire a local policeman as a bodyguard. In places like this, it makes one realise how lucky we are not to have to spend our lives in Khosravad, as this backwater is called. For example, what alternatives does this boy have for his future? Maybe he could change to a different brand of tyre. We now head to the Danakil desert, a plain about 100 meters below sea level, covered with sand and salt from a sea that has long evaporated. There are many volcanoes here because it is a meeting point for plates of the African continent, better known as the Rift Valley. Here the Earth's crust is extremely thin, which of course favours the formation of volcanoes. One of them is Erta Ale, the main destination of our trip. Here, on this road surface, the drivers don't have a problem yet, and they often drive much faster than is actually allowed on Ethiopia's provincial roads. Sometimes, however, the dust blocks the view of this breathtaking landscape. Breathtaking because of the dust. It's surprising to find people living or surviving here in this desolate place, but the children seem to be happy. The nearest school is more than 100 kilometers away. In the evening we reach the volcano's huge lava field, and driving becomes more difficult. Now the drivers do pay attention to the speed limit, because the razor-sharp lava rocks could quickly ruin the tyres. Night comes, and in the darkness it's becoming even more difficult to find the right track. But finally we reach the place where the camels and 4 soldiers of the Ethiopian military await us as additional escort to our policemen. Quickly the camels are loaded with the things we need for the next 2 days, and off we go. We deliberately chose the night hours for the ascent to the crater of the volcano to avoid the scorching heat of the day, although the risk of stumbling in the dark is greater, and the lava rocks are razor sharp. At midnight, after 3 hours of walking, we reach the crater's rim, and when the mattresses are unloaded, we can finally lie down and sleep. The next morning we see where we have arrived, an almost surreal place that the Afar have built for people like us, as a tourist infrastructure, so to speak, to visit the gate to hell. The Afar, who are more used to the heat of the plain, have to warm their bones at the fire here at 600 meters in the, for them, cool morning wind. For us, the 30 degrees Celsius in the morning is just bearable. The camels that carried up the kitchen utensils, drinking water and mattresses for us return, as there is neither water nor pasture for them. Either because of communication problems or because of the rush to leave, our private luggage has been left behind in the cars, and therefore one of the camel drivers had to go back last night to retrieve the luggage. He did it willingly because it earned him $24 extra, which is the usual rate for a camel load up to the crater. Even if we had basically needed only a toothbrush, we are glad to have our belongings ready at hand again. As a tourist, you feel a bit lost without having your belongings with you. The soldiers are watching the surroundings closely. A year ago, 5 tourists were shot by a group of rebels, and so their attention is much more justified. Regularly, a soldier surveys the large lava field to see if it is safe and secure. I wake up in this stone hut village, which is the starting point for the visit to the gate to hell. When I manage to get the 6 ladies awake, we can visit the lava lake. But our cook, instead of preparing for breakfast, scrupulously cleans the silverware and then washes with the precious water the plates made dirty by the desert dust. Every litre has to be drawn up from the ground. Then it's finally time for breakfast. These shelters are primarily used as protection from the scorching sun, and a thatched roof like this certainly doesn't protect against a rainstorm. But this risk exists in summer, and during this time no normal tourist visits the Danakil desert, because the temperature rises to over 50 degrees Celsius. There are two more victims of our night march, our guide's shoes. The glue on the soles of his shoes is made for the cool climate of the Ethiopian highlands and simply dries out in the heat of the Danakil desert. But Tez, as we call our guide, finds a solution, and it works, at least for the next 15 minutes. The soldier returns from his patrol. Everything seems to be in order. No terrorists, rebels, or religious fanatics as far as the eye can see, and so we can calmly descend into the main crater. Tez borrowed the cook's shoes for the trip. The tape was unusable against the sharp lava rocks. For us, hiking on this surface gives a completely new feeling. As the liquid lava gushed from within the earth and then cooled, it formed these shapes that look like Nutella smeared on bread. Our policeman also seems to enjoy it. The Erta Ale has two craters. According to scientists, this cone is more dangerous, because if fossil seawater came into contact with the magma, it would cause a steam explosion without warning. And suspect smoke is appearing everywhere from fissures in the rocks. Finally, we reach the lava lake of the Erta Ale, which simply means hot water in the Afar language. No one has dared to climb down there to see what was bubbling far below. It's wiser to keep a safe distance, also because of the strong smell. People think that the devil smells like sulphur. Here that's easy to confirm. What looks like a meadow are wafer-thin slag threads that form when liquid magma splashes out of the crater and cools in the air. It feels like glass wool. This lava lake is the only one on Earth that is permanent. It was only discovered in 1967. The heat emitted by the liquid magma gives us an idea of what happens under the relatively thin Earth crust in relation to the diameter of our planet. Seen in this light, it's a miracle that volcanic eruptions are relatively rare. 15 years ago, the level of the lake was 70 meters lower than it is today. The Afars, in contrast to the soldiers who are Coptic Christians, believe in Islam and therefore follow 5 daily prayers, which are usually recited in the direction of Mecca. But to make them just in front of the gates of hell requires a firm belief in the omnipotence of God. At night the spectacle is even more impressive, and we stand at the crater rim for a long time, hoping for a spectacular eruption, as well as fearing that it might happen and take us to hell earlier than planned. Another lung pull of these sulphurous fumes, and we have to say goodbye to Erta Ale. Tomorrow morning we shall return. The second night also passes without any special incidents. With certain relief, I observe the effort of our crew to clean the place, at least the plastic bottles. The likes of paper handkerchiefs are then disposed of by the wind. What I thought was a crater at the side of Erta Ale turned out to be a garbage dump, where our rubbish from 2 days is burned. But they also use the cavities and the lava bubbles to get rid of empty bottles, etc. Anyway, the next volcanic eruption will cover everything with a new layer of lava. This time we take care that our luggage is not forgotten somewhere in the huts. Loading camels properly requires a good feeling to give things the right weight. It also requires a good sense of balance, because camels just can't tolerate loads going off in different directions. A gas bottle, for example, weighs as much as 2 mattresses. So far I have not yet encountered a single camel who has done the job with joy and enthusiasm, and although loading is only a routine for them, there's always something to complain about. Before it gets hot, we are ready to go. At least during the descent, we can admire the landscape that we missed during the night march. Our policeman, who, as already said, belongs to the Afar tribe and is therefore firmly convinced that Erta Ale is the gateway to hell, seems genuinely relieved that our trip took place without any incidents. And Shaitan, Satan, has spared us this time. Who knows what camels think about us humans? In any case, their job is to transport mattresses, gas bottles and backpacks up and down the volcano. An activity that gives them neither satisfaction nor recognition. But of course they cannot know that the majority of people are not much better. And they also complain on Monday morning when they have to go to work. Slightly overheated, we wait in the shade of the hut until our luggage and mattresses are loaded into the cars, followed by endless discussions between the Afars about how the tip we gave them is to be distributed fairly, but also how the hierarchy within the clan has to be considered, and that's not so easy. Finally, in the midday heat, we begin. The Erta Ale will probably not become a destination for mass tourism in the near future, at least as long as the journey there is relatively strenuous and dangerous. And in this sense, the devil can still enjoy his rest for a while. Sooner or later his customers will somehow go to hell.